Hello there, Sir from 17 once again. This is my Bloodborne Gamescom gameplay analysis. If you're looking for the version of this trailer that isn't slowed down and that doesn't have my pearly voice over it, then check my channel. I have one of the original source material for those who are interested in that, and we'll get directly into this analysis. So straight off the bat we see he now scavenges things instead of picking items up, which is a pretty cool way to say that, and he gets a Molotov cocktail. On the top left we have the healing counter next to his life and his stamina bars, and then he has those two items below them. One of them is his hunter's bullets and the other one is the Molotov cocktails that he just brandished. He moves up to the gate, swiftly gets ambushed by this guy who, I don't know if you noticed folks, but he attacked a little bit too soon and didn't quite have the range or the tracking to hit the player. So we can immediately tell it is nothing like Dark Souls fucking 2, and that is a good thing. So he cleanly mops him up, slashes him a few times with his, transmorphing blade, or however they're calling it. We can see him now in a little bit more clarity. It looks like he's wearing the Hat of Faris, he's got the whole mask on, he's got that fantastic coat on, and whatever the hell's bouncing on his back. There's the howl in the night, the fantastic looming ambience, the awesome looking architecture and structures, and questionable frame rate, but we'll let them off. The whole thing looks damn beautiful, and the first thing I want to say to people who were being very critical of the game for looking easy and the health regeneration and all that kind of stuff, enemies dying too fast, the thing to bear in mind, folks, is this is promotional material. For all you know, he's playing on a god build. For all you know, all the enemies have been HP lowered to die in one hit. This could literally be the most biased build ever to make him look like a stylish destroyer of monsters. It's nowhere near the representation of the final game. The reason I know this is because I played Dark Souls 2 at a convention where I was fighting the Mirror Knight under a completely different name, because he was now the Looking Glass Knight, and I was using the Pursuer's Sword to kill him. That's how weird it was, guys. I couldn't even open menus. It was a completely different game than the one we played. But this guy breaks some stuff, gives his presence away, and he cleans him up with a couple of swift hits. I'm not too sure if the lock-on here is that glowing white orb that seems to be on the characters. The enemy here decides to sneak up to them, and then he throws a pebble at them, which I thought was quite interesting. The pebble does nominal damage, but it pulls this guy away, and watch this. This right here, big time reminds me of the serfs from the Artorias of the Abyss DLC with the pitchforks. Oh, interesting, does a nice little combo there between weapon and... God, I love how the cloth looks. Isn't it funny how Dark Souls 2 advertised itself for this new cloth mechanic, and this game seems to be using a different engine to Dark Souls 2, yet the cloth looks so much better. There's the kick, straight into almost like a halberd pierce with the adjustable weapon there turning into a longer axe than its current length. That shit looks beast. Then he cruises back over here, lots of coffins, lots of lampposts and open fires, and a lot of nice... A lot of people have said the lighting looks a little bit flat, and I can understand what they're coming from, but I think it looks more stylized than actually dynamic. It looks like it's intentionally trying to build the mood. And I don't know why this trailer cuts apart so much, but instead of watching him fight those guys, it decided to show us another ambush where he gets hit from behind. You'll notice he doesn't get hit for much damage, and then he attacks this enemy and it brings his life back, which is the regain system that they've been talking about. And judging from this footage, I don't really think we can assess it too much based on its morals at this point, because we have no idea what it is. That right there it looked like a stun from a charge attack into a backstab, which makes me really interested. And look at the blood, it looks so goddamn good. And I don't know if you spotted it then, it looked like he was invincible during the backstab animation, so I'm really happy to see that. You'll also notice that every time he lands a hit, he gets that glowing emanation of light from his body, which I believe is how he leeches life off enemies by using the regain system. It could be something else, but that's what it seems to appear to be. There's his blood vials. You'll notice they automatically go up on the top left. He does a nice little roll there, estimating that this is going to be a trap. Surveys his surroundings. You can see the cobblestones glistening with the moisture. It just looks really pretty, and if this is coming out in February, Jesus Christ, this is... If they can keep this up for a full game, and I have full faith in Miyazaki, this literally could be the fucking game of the year. and there's some big games coming next year. I do apologise as well if I'm missing some subtle details, guys. The preview window, whenever you do these, even when you render it, it's still artifacts because, you know, it's a high quality footage, it's quite large, and I do have this slowed down, which definitely affects the pixelation on the screen. But here is kind of like a unique enemy. It's this lumbering oaf, this giant with what looks like a brick in his hand, a huge breeze block that he combos, very reminiscent of the boulder throwing giants from Sen's Fortress. Oh my goodness. He just comes in, mops him a few times. Here comes the counter-attack. Hits him right there with the shot into a riposte. So instead of what seems like the traditional parry, you can now capitalise, almost like the Isens from Onimusha, on openings in the enemy's attacks to put them into a critical status where you can riposte them. Here's a jump attack, so Souls-esque, and he immediately combos it into a thrust and has enough time to do that crazy iframe dodge. So the thing I've noticed most, and I don't know if you folks would agree, but there seems to be so many iframes. Like, I don't know if it's a representation of what the dodge will actually be like, but it seems like God mode. And the thing that makes me most excited is just how cancelable it seems to be for the animations. He left that till the last possible instant to dodge, and he just took no damage. He got around the enemy really quickly, back into his combo, back into the action. I think some of the high-end play at this game, when people know what they're doing, is going to be like a ballet. I think it's going to be some of the most finesseful combat the Souls spiritual series have ever seen. As he moves into this area, and this area has some mysteries all of its own. Some really strange moments happening here. So one thing I notice is he's got a lot of bullets, and he doesn't use them that often. He shoots at a distance at an enemy and it does pitiful damage, so it seems like the bullets are to interrupt enemies and counter and really nothing else. As he comes against these lycanthropes, starts slashing away. These guys have a lot of life, do you see that? He was doing like 200 damage to it and it was barely 1/4 of its life. But do you see their attacks? They're signposting their attacks, and when their attacks come, they're powerful, you know, they stun you, but they gave you warning. And then this fella turns up who, for some reason, reminds me of the Creeper from Jeepers Creepers, who a lot of people are speculating that this is co-op, although there was no real signification that, you know, there was any kind of person in his world or anybody that he'd summoned or that, you know, he'd spoken to that said, I'll come and help you or anything, as he gets grabbed and eaten. Pretty reminiscent of those nasties in Blighttown that do that very same thing. And this guy here looks taller, you see that? He looks way taller. But he's got a similar combination, an axe and what looks like a flintlock pistol. Or something of that nature, maybe like a blunderbuss, I can't quite see. But he cruises over here into a trap. And, oh, look at it, guys, look at it! Oh, I love it. I love responsive evades, I love iframes, and I love being able to take an opponent's weakness and turn it against it. This looks like it was designed for me. Then he moves into this, which is very Demon Souls-esque. Lights his torch. The lighting, once again, not as dynamic as people were hoping for, because it's heavily stylized. It's intentionally glum. And then again, with that fantastic dodge. I know there's going to be people that want it toned down so that it's not as powerful as it seems, but I'm probably one of those people who does not. I think it looks genius. This is clever too. There's a fella in a wheelchair here. And he shoots him in the chest, I think. Here we go, look at him! Boom! Just shoots him point blank range, covering him in blood, in his little chair. The one thing I really like that I've seen so far about this footage is when people shoot at him, it doesn't have bullshit tracking. Like, I've given Dark Souls 2 a really hard time about the tracking, and I think it deserves it. And the one area where I was probably more lenient was projectiles. Projectiles need tracking to function in some way. But this game proves you don't need bullshit tracking for them to be functional. They fire where you were when they fired. So if you time it, you can evade it and get away from it, and that's how it should be. It seems like such a simple conceit, but many games get it wrong. But I can't get over just how much density there seems to be to these areas. Like, say what you want about Demon Souls and Dark Souls, and even Dark Souls 2. The areas were great, but they didn't really have much in them. There was a couple of barrels to break, there was a handful of, you know, NPCs and things, but there was never all that much going on. This place seems to have a living, thriving city all around it. And sure, it's in ruins, and it's all gothic-y and dark and Jack the Ripper-esque, but it still looks like it's going to have a lot more things to interact with that aren't directly items and that aren't directly enemies, which could be really interesting. And as we see here, this boss, extremely telegraphed attacks, really wide sweeping arcs. As people have mentioned, very reminiscent of Manus. Screaming, howling, some pretty interesting sound design going on here. Here's the jump attack, which is straight out of Manus's playbook. And watch this! There is no way in shit you can do that in Dark Souls and not get hit. Those hitboxes on landing, really bad in those games. This could be fixing those hitboxes, which is definitely what I'd love to see. And watch this. He throws the firebomb at it, puts it into a stun state, and he oh no, it's wrong part, sorry. He does something anyway, let's watch. So, is that it? No, he's just dodging attacks. The camera here is getting really intense. Kind of looks like the Four Kings, doesn't he, with all the like brambling. That's it! That's it! For some reason, the enemy goes into a stun state via his attacks or after its own attacks, and he riposts the boss. Ugh! That's the stuff I want to see, man. That's the stuff I wanted Dark Souls to do. And they took it a different way, but this, I swear to God, if they had a handbook as he takes a big hit there, which doesn't do as much damage as you think it would do. Stamina as well. Stamina consumption is something we can't really judge because right now it seems like he's got a shit ton for such a tiny bar, but you know, we really don't know how this is all going to be governed in the end. This is just showing the game and doing a great job of it as well as he fights this, is it Cleric Beast? Which immediately people are probably going to be happy because as humanoid as this is, it's still undoubtedly a creature, it's still definitely a monster. It's got a diverse amount of attacks. It's very Manus-esque. Ooh, that looked interesting. So it pulls the claw out of the ground, does the big eruption, kind of like the giants in the forest in the Artorias of the Abyss. And I suppose it does make sense that they've got those influences on their sleeves because they started making this game directly after they did that DLC. Or that's what the interview I read mentioned anyhow. But that was the gameplay breakdown. I apologise it was so late, folks. I did injure my back. It's much better now, but still quite niggling. But it's enabled me to bring this content to you. So thank you very much for watching, and as always, you take care now.